The $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill approved by the House lawmakers. Biden's hoping for a quick action from the Senate. We've got the unemployment benefit set to run out in a couple of weeks. It's going to have to be pretty quick.
Yes, it does, in order to get those checks out to people by middle of March, the unemployment checks. And the minimum wage issue was a holdup, and that's been over. The parliamentarians said that they cannot include that as part of the bill. And yet in the past, parliamentarians' advice has been taken only as advice. And Vice President Rockefeller, Vice President Humphrey actually overruled the parliamentarians. So some of the progressives are saying that that should be included. But yes, it's a very important bill that has to be passed one way or the other right now.
Yeah, and another bit of good news, another scintilla of hope with Johnson & Johnson possibly being the third vaccine in circulation. Now, this is a single-dose vaccine, Professor.
Yes, indeed, it'll be a big help, even though it's 67% or 72% effective, which is still very high. It's much higher than the flu vaccine, for example. It'll be a very good positive help in getting it out because it's a one jab, one shot process. You can vaccinate a lot more people that way, and it'll be very helpful to break the spread of the virus. And I just had my second jab yesterday, by the way, with the Moderna vaccine, and I feel pretty good. So I think it's very encouraging that many people will take this vaccine. Hopefully it'll be on the market soon or be out there in those clinics.
Can you tell us about the new COVID variant, Professor, that was initially discovered where you are in California and now detected in 19 countries? It's set to be rapidly spreading across the world.
Yes, it's
seem to have
variants, maybe not that particular one. They can actually be reduced in terms of the intensity. It prevents death and prevents alarmingly sickness, great sickness. And so even though that the new virus or variant of the virus could be, a problem, it's still the vaccines are somewhat effective against them. And so no one should stop taking those vaccines. That should be the number one priority, as the Biden administration is doing. So we'll have to wait and see how it actually reacts to the variants. But so far, it looks good for most variants.
They're probably stubbornly saying around that 70-odd thousand, but they're dipping under 70. And I've seen a day where it was 50-odd thousand in the United States, and the mortality rate and hospitalisation dropping as well.
Yes, they are, and that's also a very good sign. And that means the masking, which people have started to practice, should not be let up on. They should go double down on it. People should be wearing masks everywhere they go. They should be social distancing. All those basics and fundamentals have to be observed even during the vaccination process, so that way we can nip it in the bud completely. And I think Australia is a great example. You folks have done a great job over there with this virus and how you right away don't wait around when there's a small event, when it comes up in a small place. You go after it right away. You don't mess around. So over here, we have to learn from that and do it right away and go after this virus as soon as possible and to wear those masks. Absolutely.
CPAC, the first appearance from Donald Trump we will be seeing since he left the White House tomorrow, I believe. Many people eager to hear if he's actually going to discuss whether he will be running for presidency in 2024. There's a lot being spoken about him, but we've also got to remember that, there was more than 70 million people that did vote for him in the last election. What are your thoughts on this?
It's a very big, significant condition that's occurring right now because Donald Trump is the most popular of all the Republican candidates. If he were to run for presidency right now, he'd win at least 56% of the primary vote, the primary election. So he is the big enchilada, the big elephant in the room at CPAC, and he's taken all the air out of the room by being there. And by he's going to, in his speech tonight, he's going to say that he's going to be running for president in 2024, more than likely. He's keeping his options open for that. And that means other potential candidates don't have any chance to even think of running right now or to try to get the allegiance of some of these CPAC members. And CPAC is a very activist organization. Its endorsement, especially for the more right-wing populist Republicans, is a very big thing. And Donald Trump's golden statue, did you hear about the golden statue that he's got there? There's a gold statue of Donald Trump in that building at the CPAC conference. Quite interesting and symbolic, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's really interesting to watch the activity and watch the comments from someone like Mitch McConnell. A little bit bemusing, really. He voted against it in the Senate. Then he came out and blamed Donald Trump for what happened in Washington. And now in an interview, he's come out and said that he would back him if he was nominated for 2024.
He did.
It's all over the shop.
It's back and forth, McConnell, and it has to do with the concern some of these Republicans have, the establishment Republicans, of the populist nature of Trump's appeal, that they're worried about in their own home districts or their home states, that Trump's appeal has not diminished, even after the insurrection, which was completely outrageous and illegal, but it happened, and Trump is still holding on that base, that really hardcore base. And the McConnells are really worried, and so are the other people in the Republican establishment, Republican Party, are worried about winning re-election in 2 years from now, or even 4 years from now, and they don't want to go up against Trump directly. That's why there's waffling and back and forth that you saw with McConnell.
Yeah, well, certainly with Trump, we haven't seen him, as we mentioned, since the leaving office, and he's been banned from Twitter still. So certainly we'll be hearing a lot from him tomorrow in Florida. But finally, yesterday, Professor Saudi Crown Prince Salman approved the operation to capture and kill Jamal Khashoggi. What do you think the relationship now is going to be like between the US and Saudi Arabia?
It's going to be a bit more aloof. Although Saudi Arabia is seen as a critical ally militarily, it's not one of our close allies politically or in terms of human rights. We're very critical of what it does. And Biden is right to put that out there and say, look, you cannot do this. This horrendous killing approved by MBS, bin Salman, was outrageous. It was against human rights, obviously, at the very least. And this has to be condemned completely. And Biden is doing that. He's letting the report come out that actually connects MBS to this killing and says that this cannot go on anymore. And yet, Donald Trump kind of overlooked it because he wanted those military sales to go to Saudi Arabia and make quite a bit of money for the defense contractors. That's a real problem, looking at the practical necessity. But yet I would say human rights has to take precedence. That's what America stands for. It's a major part of our soft power, which allows us influence in the world. If we let that go, then nothing else matters. All the military alliances won't matter much. So that's what Biden is trying to bring America back to, that human rights issue, and championing that and condemning regimes that conduct this kind of activity,
yes,
or leaders that do.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll watch that space with interest. And Professor Peter Mathews, it's quite symbolic that you've now had your second jab in the weekend edition's coverage of what has been happening in the United States. Hopefully, from here on in, it's positive, positive, positive and heading in the right direction. Good to see you.